So the question of the brother was that was along the lines that obviously there's a lot of nashat in da'wah, in the sense that people have the means to broadcast themselves and to call to what they're upon. And so in the midst of all of that, there are some innovations which are very, very clear and apparent to the average person. The bid'ah of the Shia, of the Rafida, who detest the companions, the bid'ah of the grave worshippers, say, so these are apparent things. But then there are also types of people where the innovation is obscure. Maybe they ascribe to the Sunnah, maybe they ascribe to Salafiyah. How does one, this is what I'm understanding from your question, how does one be cautious and to learn those types of affairs? So, as the brother mentioned, obviously there are some things which are very, very clear and very apparent. And these are things that obviously, in the course of seeking knowledge and teaching the foundations, whether we learn them ourselves or teach them to our children, there are certain things which are from the basic foundations that we should know, as the foundation. For example, the bid'ah of the Khawarij, of the Rafida, who hate the companions of the Khawarij, who basically revolt and rebel and bring about turmoil and ruin. The bid'ah of the Sufis and some of their doctrines. These are all apparent things that we should know and have a good, clear understanding how the Muslim Ummah split, how it divided. What are the main groups? There are the Khawarij, there are the Rafida, there are the Murjiyah, who expel actions from Iman. There is the Qadariyah, who deny Al-Qadr, that Allah knows and decrees and wills and creates the actions of the servants. Likewise, the bid'ah of the Jahmiyah, who brought philosophy into speech about Allah, His names, His attributes. And then the various offshoots of the Jahmiyah, the Mu'tazila, the Kullabiyya, the Ash'ariyya, Maturidiyya. Then we have like the Falasifa, Mutafalsifa, the pseudo-philosophers, who basically put, they try to merge philosophy with the Quran. And then there is the Aqlaniyya, the modernists, the rationalists, who believe that the Aql is supreme, and this decides, what is right and wrong belief, and good law, bad law, like legislation, and what is harmful, beneficial. All these are basics that we, as students or as people who who value the Sunnah and who know who the ulama and who know the way of the Salaf, these are the basics that we should already have mastered to, with some degree of study. Right? We should be familiar with these types of things, right? The first four sects, the Khawarij, Rafida, Murji'ah, Qadariyah. What are the basic deviations of each one? And then what sects came afterwards? Well, the Jahmiyah and the Mu'tazila. And then you have the various other orientations, the Mutasawwifa, the Sufis, and then you have the Mutafalsifa, the people of philosophy. So at a basic level, we should have a good grasp, because these are historical things which happened, but the effects of which continued in the Ummah right until this day of ours, right? So all those old sects have people who are upon what they were upon and who perpetuate what they were upon. So that's all. This is something that we should have as basics, as students of knowledge, and with some length of study. However, as we know, there are also people who they make a display, or they ascribe to Salafiyah, but they're not really upon the way of the Salaf, and they bring with them false beliefs or false principles, false methodological principles. And so this is a bit more difficult and a bit more subtle, because not everybody has that level of knowledge and understanding to be able to clearly see, well, this it is not in accordance with. So what do we do? Well, we return back to the scholars. This is the way we are guided in these types of issues. And so there are a number of steps that we can use in this regard. The first of them is obviously, like I said, go back to the scholars and their refutations and their speech about the contemporary people, the contemporary figureheads, the contemporary scholars. So if we take the last century by way of example, we know that the scholars of the Muslims, the people of the Sunnah, they have spoken about, for example, Hassan al-Banna, Sayyid Qutb, Maududi, Al-Nabahani. These are all people who are from Al-Ikhwan, Al-Muslimin, Hizb al-Tahrir, all these kind of politicized jama'at who have errors in the field of Tawheed, in the field of methodology. Likewise, they speak about other people more contemporary who inherited the ideas of those people. Abdurrahman Abdul Khaliq, Adnan Arur, Mahmoud Al Haddad, Abdul Latif Bashmil. These are now, like another level of version of those, previous people, and the scholars have refutations, against them. And then there are other. So, in a nutshell, what I'm saying is the first thing is to return back to the scholars, right? And to see whom the scholars have they written against and written about, and what ideas have they written about in the contemporary age. And this is in every age, in every era. As the Messenger of Allah said, لا تزال طائفة من أمتي ظاهرين على الحق. There will never cease to be a faction from my ummah manifestly upon the truth, and they will not be harmed by those who oppose them, nor those who abandon them, who desert them. Right? That's the first.
Akbar, Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله. أشهد أن محمد رسول الله. أشهد أن محمد رسول الله. حي على الصلاة. حي على الصلاة. حي على الفلاح. حي على الفلاح. الله أكبر، الله أكبر. لا إله إلا الله.
So as we said, the first thing is to return back to the scholars of your age, of your era, the scholars upon manifestly upon Tawheed and Sunnah, who call with the call of the prophets and messengers in rectifying the society. So we go back to them and we find an abundance of material information, knowledge, understanding about the jama'at, the groups, the individual, the afrad, the individuals, the callers, whom the scholars have spoken about. So that's the second thing. The third thing is simply to know who are the people upon manifestly and clearly upon the way of the Salaf in your land, who have connections with the scholars, and who from you can clearly see that they call to the Sunnah, they defend the Sunnah, they venerate the Sunnah. To know who those people are. And once you know who those people are, then you stick to them as a... So I guess the point that I'm explaining here is that because it is not possible for a person to know every type of falsehood and to know every type of shubha and to know which person is really upon the Sunnah, whatever, then there's like a safeguarding mechanism that, is found in our religion, which is that those people who are clearly and manifestly upon the sunnah, who call to it, who defend it, who connect the people to the scholars, who, clarify these affairs, you stick with them and you befriend them and you accompany them. And as for anybody else from whom it's obscure, you do not know, it's not clear, then as a safety mechanism for yourself, then you just refrain from those people until it is established with you that they are either by way of commendation, either by way of investigation, either by way of examination. These are all ways and means by which are legitimate ways and means by which we can examine and investigate and to find out about people where it's not clear to us what are they about, what are they upon. And there are ways and means that can be used, which platforms do they sit upon, what is their allegiance, what is their loyalty, what is their friendship, who do they speak ill of, who do they speak good of. All these things are signs and indicators by which a person can tell. Like, a person doesn't have to know all of the intricate details of every little issue to, but he can use these general guidelines to see. And that's why many of the scholars of the Salaf, they used to say that, if you are in Medina, then test the people of Medina with Imam Malik, right? And if you are in another place, in another city, test the people with Mu'afa bin Imran. And if you're in another place, test the people with Al-Awza'i, right? So whoever is with them and speaks well of them and is, speaks good of them, then that person is a person of the Sunnah, right? It doesn't mean that you now have to know every single intricacy and detail, because not every person would have that level of knowledge to look at the shubuhat and see, well, what this person is saying, is it true or not true, in accordance with the Sunnah, not accordance with the Sunnah, right? These are like general safety mechanisms which exist in our religion for the general people to know. Like, if a person comes today and starts attacking Sheikh bin Baz, well, straight away, this person is a dalun, mudillun, misguided, straying, individual. Anyone who speaks ill about any of the scholars, Sheikh al-Fawzan, Sheikh al-Luhidan, Sheikh al-Bani, straight away we know you are a sahibu hawa, sahibu bid'ah. And likewise, in the lands where people are known and known to the scholars and they are manifestly upon that way, and then you stick with them, and you can use that as a general guideline. If you yourself do not have the level of knowledge and understanding to be able to tell, okay, what is he saying in this issue, if you don't have that knowledge, then you basically refrain until the matter is made clear to you and for you by the people in your land who have connection with the ulama and who are upon the way of the ulama, upon the way of the salaf, and who clarify the way for the people. The third thing, obviously, is seeking ilm, seeking knowledge, seeking fiqh in the religion, and especially in the issues of aqidah. So this begins by learning and studying the books that contain the foundations of our religion. And these types of books are of various types. There are lots of books which are, for example, Usul Sunnah of Imam Ahmad, Sharh Sunnah of Imam al-Barbahari. These are the types of books that when you read them, in small, short sentences, they give you the essence of the creed and the methodology of the Salaf. And through that, you develop a good general criterion with which to judge people, individuals and groups and parties, to see, well, from what I can see here in this book, is that person or that jama'ah, are they acting in accordance with this? So this type of study, you must seek comprehension in these types of affairs, in the creed and the methodology of the Salaf, from the likes of these books. And alhamdulillah, the ulama, the scholars, they have much by way of commentaries and explanations, both short, concise, both detailed and lengthy, upon these types of books. So you must seek knowledge in that field to be able to have a furqan, to have a criterion to be able to see. For example, if there's some person who claims that he's, I'm upon the way of the Salaf and I'm with the scholars, you have people like this present today. They're on the tube, they're on the media, and then you see them wherever they travel. Like one, for example, I saw just today, this clown by the name of Abu Taymiyyah. I call him a clown because he's a clown. These are media types of, these are people. I spoke about him before as well. You don't need to know anything about what they're saying. You just need to look at how they're behaving, right? When you see a man who markets himself on YouTube, and when you see that he uses Photoshop to put pictures of, like, profile pictures of, he's got Sheikh Albani on this side and Sheikh Uthaymeen on that side in the image, and then he puts his own face in the middle in large, and then he's got a spotlight on him, and that's like the splash image for his video. Like, this is just blatant self-promotion, and you're making yourself out to be like in the ranks of the scholars, and his pictures as well, which those scholars don't agree with, right? So you don't need to know anything else about this person, right? He could be teaching you all like the books and Arabic and Aqidah and this and Zayz with the scholars. You just need to know that this individual is a clown, right? He's marketing himself to people to gain an audience. You do not take this man seriously at all, right? Just like some of the it's mentioned by the likes of Al-Bukhari and others about him, that they saw once a man, he's trying to tempt an animal, a horse, by pretending he's got something to give to the animal, and he's like misdirecting the animal, right? So they said, right, that person, never going to take any narrations from him because that person's not reliable. If he's willing to deceive an animal, then he could be willing to deceive, right? Basic principle. Once you see that, that's it, finish, khalas. It doesn't matter what he's memorized, who he sat with, who he's taken from, whatever. Khalas, that's it. I've seen something from you, finished, right? Same with these types of people. You don't need to, it's astounding that people should be deceived by the likes of these people, right? As soon as you see that, that's it. Khalas, finish. We've seen your reality. You are a clown, right? You are a self-promoter. You are just after fame and fortune. This is clear evidence that you are after fame. And then you go and you sit on the, wherever you visit in America or whatever it might be, you are with the Deobandis, Tabligis, you are with the Ikhwanis, you sat with them. And just recently, there's a picture of him with this Yasir al-Hanafi, this Maturidi, Jahmi Hanafi Muqallid, right? Hand, shaking, smiling. And we know what the Salaf said, the man waqqara sahiba bid'atin faqad a'ana ala hadm al-Islam. Whoever honors a person of innovation, this is a mubtadi', who believes, who denies the ulu of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, right? And denies, other affairs of creed in opposition to the way of the Salaf, and he's upon the way of the Jahmiyyah. How can you stand and flatter and smile and deceive other people, your audience? That in itself is finished. Khalas, no, you don't need now to argue with him on any issue of knowledge or about any other issue about Salafiyah or Dawah. No, we've just seen two things from you which are evident about you, right? So this is the benefit of learning the way of the Salaf and implementing what we find in the books, like in the books of the Salaf, that we judge you in accordance with these principles and these methodologies. So you have a furqan, a criterion where you can just clearly see, well, this is what I know from the Salaf, and that's what I'm seeing from you, right? But that's enough for me. I don't need to know anything else after this, about any of your speech about Salafiyah and the scholars and about Salafis and about schisms and differences. All that is just kalam farik. All I can, this one thing is enough for me to know your reality, right? So there are many things. There are many things, as I said, which a person can use in order to protect himself and guide himself in relation to dubious people who make ascription to Salafiyah and who are out there in the field, in the field of online acting and performing and, building audiences and marketing a brand and whatever. There are many of these types of people in the US, in the UK, everywhere else. This is a fitna, and this type of platform and technology draws out and brings out these types of people. These people would never have existed decades ago. These people only exist with the internet, with these platforms, because in essence, they are performance artists. They perform for the people because they want audiences, right? So very simple basic principles which we learn by going back to the books of the Salaf, and if we just implement these principles, then we will be saved from a great deal of confusion, right? And there are other points. Obviously, these are 3 points I mentioned. There are others as well, but now we'll stop, inshallah. Time for salah. And we'll conclude our lesson there for today. Walhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Wa sallallahu ala nabiyyina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Alhamdulillah.